So now, today was a very significant day for you all. Switching gears, you've already gone to see Ruth Bader Ginsburg lying in state at the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want us to center for a minute about the importance of this moment, what the Supreme Court means, and why it's so important for all of us, not just to know who RBG was. As I sit here with one of these is Harriet and one of these is RBG, by this company Awe-Inspired, who also is making you one. They're making a Kamala one. Yeah, women heroes. But as we sit here thinking about her heroic career, why do people need to know about Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
Well, I mean, that's how I started today, and what it's been, in addition to everything else, with 39 days before the election, where my head has been, which is thinking about the importance of the United States Supreme Court and the leaders of our nation who have sat on that court and changed the trajectory of our lives. The inspiration for me to become a lawyer was Thurgood Marshall, who, of course, trailed the way through his work up until being on the court for Brown v. Board of Education, which desegregated the schools of America. I think of Ruth Bader Ginsburg similarly. It's interesting because I think that there's a lot of coverage that has been about the fame that she received late in life, but not understanding that her fame started when she was in her teenage years, in terms of the work she had been doing every step of the way to lay the foundation for equality for all people, but with her focus having been an emphasis on women. And when I was there this morning, while she lay she lay in state in the United States Capitol, I'm the only Black woman in the United States Senate.
Yeah.
And only the second in the history of the United States Senate to have been elected. I'm looking at this casket laying in state. She is the first woman ever.
Yeah.
And she was, she was a petite woman. And there was such an inverse relationship between her size and her stature, in terms of everything she achieved in our ongoing fight for civil rights. I think if you look at her jurisprudence, if you look at the way she set up the cases along the way, it was very much of that same methodology that Thurgood, along with Charles Hamilton Houston and Constance Baker Motley, how they were thinking about how you set up precedent one block at a time. I can't help but think that she wanted to live much longer.
Yeah.
But that she probably held on longer than most could because of that sheer determination. Sitting there, it was a very somber way to start the day. I looked at her casket and I thought, she earned the right to rest in peace. She earned the right to rest in peace.
And yet we find ourselves in this position where the same day that we found out she was no longer with us, Donald Trump was tweeting about what he planned to do with his nominee. You just, of course, mentioned Constance Baker Motley. Now you did in your acceptance speech as well for the vice presidency. Who do you think, because we also know that Vice President Biden has committed to nominating a Black woman to the Supreme Court. When you think of some of the women who have inspired you, some may be your peers. Some of us thought you would be a great Supreme Court justice. Well, we want you to have all the jobs, apparently. But what are you thinking about? Who would be some great women, Black women, that could serve in that role? To the extent
there are so many. I'm not going to name any names. That Joe Biden will create his list at the appropriate time. But there are many names of women I have worked with over the years who each have been trailblazers. And the thing that I know about Black women, whatever we do, but in particular in the profession of law, because so many have been the first, is that when you are looking at who we're talking about, you will see some of the brightest minds in law, as well as some of the people who are the most civic minded, people who have lived a life of service, and all in the fight for justice for everybody. And so, you know, you and I have talked about this many times. You know, many of us may be the first to do many things, but there are a whole lot of us. Yeah. I think that people mean it as a compliment sometimes when they look at you and say, you know, oh, you're special. I think they may mean it as a compliment, but I think there's another side to that, which is to suggest you're the only one like you. Mm-hmm. And therefore that you are alone. And as I mentor young women and men, I remind them that no, don't ever let anyone make you feel alone. There are a lot of us. We come with people. And the pie is big enough so that we should be in every slice of that pie and occupying every region of our society and roles of leadership. So there are a lot of Black women, is a long way of saying there are a lot of Black women who have earned the right to be on a list, to be the next Supreme Court justice and to fill the shoes of the legacy of Thurgood Marshall and Ruth Bader Ginsburg and so many others.